Hello Tao. I'd like to lead you through a presentation on one of the name all educators are familiar with, Vygotsky. I'm sure at this stage you've come across this name. Vygotsky came up with the sociocultural theory. It's a theory that relates to individual development.
Vygotsky was born on the 17th of November, 1896 in a city called Orsha, a part of western region of the Russian Empire.
He graduated with a law degree, to become like us, a lawyer.
But then he detoured to the field of child development and education.
So let's place this sociocultural theory under our microscope, for a better understanding.
Okay, I can identify some particles that formed this sociocultural theory, such as social interaction, internalization, more knowledgeable other, and the more dominant one among them is zone of proximal development. There is also a component called scaffolding linked to this theory, but Jerome Bruner's name appears closer to it. The only explanation to this scaffolding particle is that Jerome Bruner coined the term, but connected it to Vygotsky.
We need to zoom in closer for better understanding on these particles or components.
Social interaction is our first artifact of discussion. So how does social interaction function in this theory?
Social interaction is a term used by Vygotsky to describe the type of environment in which learning occurs.
That environment is the interaction of two or more individuals. In such environment, it is said that the first step of learning is occurring. That social environment facilitates learning of an individual.
The next step of development and learning according to Vygotsky is our next particle called internalization. The learner, after being facilitated by social interaction through observation, now constructs knowledge.
And that construction of knowledge is what we call learning.
To Vygotsky, there are three levels of transformation that occurs in the process of internalization, which we will not get into details. What we need to know is to keep in mind that internalization is the transformation process from interpersonal to intrapersonal of an external influence received during a social interaction. Now we're at the more knowledgeable other aspect of this theory. The term used is self-explanatory. In the facilitation of learning and development, there should be somebody with more knowledge than the learner. For example, at home the parents are that MKO, in sports the coaches is in possession, at school the teacher assumes it. All these MKOs are tasked with assisting, not controlling the learner.
So, whenever there is a child, or learner within our midst, remember, learning is in process.
What we say and do is being constructed by that learner as knowledge.
And in due time, the knowledge constructed by the learner will influence his or her development.
The more knowledgeable other aspect is activated within what Vygotsky termed zone of proximal development, and is now our matter of discussion.
These are the three zones. The first inner zone is what a child can do without assistance. And in here is that zone of proximal development. And this outer zone is what I cannot do even with an assistant.
This first zone is where the learner, or child, has the ability to perform tasks independently, without an assistant, or an MKO.
The child can now swim without supervision.
A child no longer need to hold on to mum or dad when walking from A to B.
Learners have developed into their constructed knowledge. They are now comfortable to perform tasks at hand.
This zone is Vygotsky's zone of proximal development.
What I can do, but with an assistant or MKO.
This zone is about a learner being assisted through a task by an MKO. Tasks in this zone can be labeled difficult but within the learner's reach.
Within this ZPD, learners are encouraged to challenge their cognitive skills by critically examining any given task. The role of the MKO is to assist the learner through the task, but with minimal interaction.
The role of the task is to enhance the learner's cognition, to make them think how to solve the problem.
And the role of the MKO is only to assist.
And the role of the learner
is to perform the task with the help of the MKO.
Now we're at the application of this theory to a social service setting. How will this theory assist in that kind of setting? What is available in this theory for social and youth workers, educators, coaches, trainers and leaders to assist them in their role? First, we need to give recognition to the cultural aspect of this theory. It describes the importance of a learner constructing knowledge according to his or her own culture. Here are some aspects of this theory to apply in an education setting. 1. Diversity must be embraced by all educators. 2. Teachers must create tasks that challenges learners but within their reach. Tasks must not be too difficult lest the learner becomes frustrated and procrastinate. It must not be too easy as no learning will occur. Must be challenging but achievable. 3. Teachers must create a positive learning environment for learners to construct knowledge positively. 4. Teachers to the learners are MKOs, but every learner's first MKOs are their parents. 5. In the ZPD, the use of the scaffolding aspect is that teachers assist to build up every learner. To build up every learner is where we will conclude journeying through this sociocultural theory. May you also be found building up every learner of any age from any background for their health and well-being, for that too is the purpose of Vygotsky's sociocultural theory.